the dead of night, the skies over Tehran lit up like daylight. Israeli fighter jets launched a sudden, coordinated assault targeting Iran's capital and major cities, including Isfahan and Shiraz. Missiles struck military bases, communication hubs, and suspected nuclear sites. Explosions rocked residential areas. Panic flooded the streets. Tehran calls it an act of war. Israel calls it self-defense. But make no mistake, this is not a skirmish. This is the most direct strike on Iranian soil in decades. And now, the world is holding its breath. Is this the beginning of a regional firestorm, or the opening move of a global war? It was just past 1:40 a.m. local time when the first alarms echoed across Tehran. Without warning, Israeli fighter jets pierced Iranian airspace, supported by long-range missiles launched from the Mediterranean. In a matter of minutes, 3 Iranian cities, Tehran, Isfahan, and Shiraz, were under attack. Eyewitnesses in Tehran described the night sky flashing orange, followed by thunderous explosions. Iranian air defenses lit up in response, but it was clear Israel had the upper hand in speed, stealth, and coordination. Initial targets included Iran's Ministry of Defense Command Center, several suspected missile depots, and an underground complex near Isfahan believed to be linked to Iran's advanced nuclear program. The official Iranian news agency IRNA confirmed damage to military infrastructure and civilian casualties in the dozens, though numbers are still unverified. Hospitals in Tehran were placed on emergency alert, and the government ordered full military mobilization before dawn. Satellite images show large craters and fire zones in key regions. Social media flooded with footage of terrified civilians fleeing into shelters or underground metros. Electricity blackouts were reported across multiple neighborhoods in southern Tehran and northern Shiraz. As the sun rose over Iran, the reality became clear. This was not a warning. This was an open military confrontation, the most aggressive Israeli operation on Iranian soil in modern history. And with no claim of responsibility from Israel, only a cryptic message from Netanyahu. Israel will defend itself at any cost. The region has crossed a line, and now the world is waiting to see how Iran will respond. Within hours of the Israeli airstrike, Tehran entered a state of national emergency. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei called the attack a direct violation of sovereignty and vowed retaliation without limits. The Revolutionary Guard was placed on full alert, and Iranian ballistic missile units were seen mobilizing near the western border. State television showed images of destroyed buildings, smoke rising from military zones, and civilians lined up at blood banks. Interior Ministry sources reported at least 120 casualties, though unofficial figures suggest many more. President Ibrahim Raisi convened an emergency war council, declaring, "We will respond at a time and in a manner that our enemies least expect." Meanwhile, Iran's missile defense network was reinforced across key cities, and air traffic was grounded nationwide. In Shiraz and Isfahan, residents prepared for further strikes, with long lines at fuel stations and supermarkets. Iran's foreign ministry reached out to China, Russia, and the UN, accusing Israel of launching an unprovoked act of aggression. The world watched closely, because Iran's silence wouldn't last long, and when it spoke, it would speak with fire. As the world scrambled for answers, Israel remained officially silent. But behind the scenes, the message was clear. Sources close to Israeli intelligence claim the strike was a preemptive operation, targeting Iran's alleged preparations for deploying long-range missiles and accelerating its nuclear enrichment at underground facilities. According to one leaked Israeli memo, waiting means risking Tel Aviv. Action was necessary. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a brief televised address, stated, "Israel will not wait for the bomb to fall, we will act first, to protect our future." Israeli military officials claim that intelligence from Mossad confirmed Iran was just weeks away from reaching nuclear breakout capability. And with global diplomacy at a stalemate, Netanyahu's administration believed there was no time left to negotiate. The decision, however, comes amid intense political pressure inside Israel, rising internal unrest, economic strain, and increasing calls for Netanyahu to step down. Some analysts argue the strike served both security and political purposes. But whatever the reason, the world now faces the fallout. And the question remains, did Israel prevent a threat or unleash something far worse? As smoke still rose over Iranian cities, military analysts around the globe began asking the most urgent question. Has the next major war already begun? Iran's retaliation is expected, and it may not be limited to missiles. Intelligence sources suggest Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Syria, and pro-Iranian groups in Iraq and Yemen have been placed on high alert. If they join the conflict, Israel could face a multi-front war, stretching from the Golan Heights to the Red Sea. Meanwhile, U.S. forces in the Gulf have raised their alert level. Russia condemned Israel's actions as reckless. China called for an emergency UN session. The world is split and dangerously tense. Oil prices surged past $125 a cent, global markets dipped, and airlines rerouted away from the Middle East. Even civilian flights over Pakistan and India are now under review. If Iran responds with full military force and Israel strikes back harder, the conflict could draw in regional and global powers. This is no longer just a strike. This is a crack in global stability. And unless diplomacy finds a way in, missiles may soon be flying far beyond Tehran. One airstrike, dozens dead, and the world inches closer to a line no one dares to cross. Iran is furious, Israel stands defiant. The Middle East is on edge, and the world's most powerful nations are watching, with nuclear tension in the air. Will Iran strike back tonight? Will Hezbollah or the US be pulled in next? And what happens if diplomacy fails altogether? We are standing at a turning point, and what happens next could shape the world for generations. What's your take? Comment below. Subscribe to DarkEcho News for real, raw coverage the mainstream won't show. Stay alert, stay informed, because this story is far from over.